What do you get when a Japanese warship crash lands on an island where the Black Lagoon monster happens to live? It's day 3 of 31 Days of Horror, and we're watching Monster Island, and I'm here with my guest, Josh. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
The story pretty much takes place World War II. We're following 2 soldiers on opposing sides. One did some bad stuff to his own troops, and the other guy obviously is a, prisoner of war. Their ship crashes, and now they are having to survive amongst whatever creatures lay out there.
Yeah.
So when you picked this movie, what were your thoughts that you're gonna get into?
I genuinely had no idea what to expect when I picked this one. The cover art just looked crazy, and I saw that it was a Shudder original, and I was like, I haven't watched one of those in a minute, so it'd be nice to dive into that. And the runtime obviously was also a nice bonus. When I saw that it was only like 83 minutes long, I was like, all right, cool. So creature feature, Shudder original, nice and short. I'm guessing it'll get to the good stuff pretty quickly, and hopefully we get some fun practical effects or some gore or something. I had no idea it was foreign, and I didn't realize it was like a period piece set in World War II. So that was a pleasant surprise. I enjoyed that a lot.
That's mostly the reason why I picked it. Is the cover art looked really cool, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but it says Monster Island. Let's go with it. I did kind of know that it was a period piece, but my assumption, because it's called Monster Island, I was kind of hoping that the island would be kind of full of different kind of monsters. I don't know if you thought that was also going to be the thing, but when it was just like the Black Lagoon looking monster, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of bummed.
Monster Island does sound like it's promising an entire island of monsters.
It's a pretty straightforward movie for the most part. 2 guys having to work together on a island that they don't know about, and trying to survive. But it's not like over multiple days. This is literally one day of them trying to survive when all hell breaks loose. They have to deal with some of the Japanese soldiers who happen to survive the crash as well, but also these beasts that are coming out through the woodworks and having to fight them. What did you think of the practical effects?
I really like the practical effects. I'm a sucker for any sort of practical effect, even if it looks like a guy in a rubber suit, which sometimes it definitely did here. But I mean, I appreciate that more than some silly CGI thing, or at least I respect them for going for it, where they could have just tried to shoot around him and been like, oh, we're going to leave it a mystery and not show the monster at all. And they're like, no, we designed this creature that we've clearly had inspired by the creature from Black Lagoon. Let's see what we can do with it. And it was fun. I liked the teeth and the scales and stuff. He was effectively slimy. I was definitely a fan, and some of the gore was good, yeah. I
think the best moments of the monster was definitely close-ups of it. It looked really good in the close-ups. I think a little bit of the further away shots definitely felt like a man in a suit. He was very stiff when he was fighting, and I'm like, oh, it's like Power Rangers. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, I always like a blend of CGI and practical, because there's only some things that we can do really good in practical, but then mystical fantasy characters, sometimes they have to move a certain way. And then, if you can't do it with a, practical suit, then it looks cool when it's switches to CGI and you can have him jump on a wall and crawl at you like crazy speeds, and you're like, oh, scary.
Definitely. I do agree with that. I like when I understand CGI is necessary for certain things, because you'll see them attempt it with practical effects, and it's always messy, or certain things you just can't do because you don't have the budget or enough takes to if they get it wrong the first time with the practical effects, then they're kind of SOL. So I understand it there, but it's always when they use CGI for stuff that I'm like, you clearly could have just got some a bowl of fake blood and knocked that out. There's no need for that to be digital. So it was refreshing. I thought this was a decent blend.
Were you hoping that there was going to be more deaths in this movie?
I don't know what I was expecting. I think the deaths we got were fun. They were good and gory. I think they were trying to find a good balance between this is a serious dramatic story, and we're going to try to have this emotional like finale of these like soldier and prisoner of war putting aside their differences and working together. And you find out that the soldier like went against his own team because he knew what they were doing was wrong or whatever. Like that whole story, I think they didn't want to bog that down with deaths. So I'm kind of on both sides of it. I would have also loved just a silly, like over the top creature feature that's this monster thing just tearing apart dozens of soldiers and just wreaking havoc on the island. But I feel like they thought that would have detracted from the more serious tone they were trying to go for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do wish it was kind of more than just one day of them surviving, because I get what they were trying to go for. You know, I was hoping that Bronson and Sato, like, their bond would be a lot stronger, and I feel like obviously over a couple of days that would definitely have happened, because, you know, they have time to grow as a friendship. And I felt like just most of the movie he was just like Bronson.
Yeah.
Bronson's just doing whatever he wants, and I'm just like, I wanted a little bit more brotherly like bond like from them, and it doesn't really help that it was such a short time, because when Bronson like sacrifices his life near the end, it didn't have that much bearing to it. Like I didn't really care that much, because he's just like, oh, because he was just kind of like this. He went into the cave and he's like, egg, we must destroy it. And he's like, do we have to, Bronson? He's like, but egg, they're gonna kill us. He's like, I got an idea. We'll get the bomb. Yeah. We'll get the missile from the airplane. We'll shoot it. We'll blow it up. And we'll stop them because they're killing us. We don't have to do this. And he's just like, he was so dedicated to doing that, which was just so funny. And I don't know about you, but I low-key started cracking up when he shoots the monster egg and the little baby comes out. It's like all rubbery, so it's like wiggly when it fell. I was like, oh, okay, we got a little wiggly baby. The other thing I thought was funny was, so the monsters can get shot in the eye, he can explode, still survive, but it takes a sword slash to the gut, and that's what he's done.
Ended him.
He's dunsies with a sword slash. He's like, explosions? Psh, easy.
Yeah.
I can take those. Those are
like, steel blades, my only weakness. Yeah. Firearms, nothing.
But yeah, I just was hoping for a little bit more story and bond from our main characters. Because when Bronson died, I don't know, I didn't really care too much.
Yeah, it didn't really feel as earned as it could have if they did devote a little more time to establishing that relationship, or letting them get to know each other, get closer over a few days. I think it would have made sense. I mean, obviously they had time to play with here. It's a short movie, so they could have added another 10 minutes of story and it not be a problem. I feel like it would have still been justified if they had spent at least a few days getting to know each other, like trying to figure out how to get off this island and survive, and then you meet the monsters, but you don't have to be done with the monsters within like 14 hours. Yeah, you could have had them taking shifts overnight and maybe a few days of them evading this thing and
some beard
developing
growth.
Some sort of exactly.
You know, some like, what was that? Because I do feel like they showed the monster a little bit too fast. And I don't know if that was because the runtime, they're just like, let's get it in there and, you know, have them constantly attacking. I'm not one of those people who are opposed to seeing the monster. I know some people are like, oh, if you show the monster too much, it gets less scary. And I can see that in some movies. This movie, I was fine with seeing it, but with how short the runtime is, I do feel like they should have hit him a little bit, like him off in the distance, like taking out other soldiers that are not a part of our main group. And then then we finally do see them, you know, like the teeth and then you're just like, oh, that's what it is. But I also would have liked, you know, like, I don't know, maybe giant spiders, or, you know, I don't know, some type of weird other creature. That would have been cool. I know probably budget restrictions, they probably only had the 2 or 4 monster costume, but I don't know, maybe I'm asking for too much.
No, I mean, it is fair. It is, like you said, it was called Monster Island, so you anticipate more monsters on this island, kind of like a King Kong type of vibe. I would have understood hiding him a little bit more, kind of building up to it, making the reveal a little bit more impactful. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen some more deaths early on, kind of leading into it, and mystery there.
I'm so curious what the budget was on this movie. That's probably why, $70K.
Oh, wow.
That is a very low budget.
That's insane. Yeah, that's crazy low.
That's a super indie.
Well, good for them. Now I have even more respect for what they were able to pull off for that kind of price, I guess.
Okay,
that's
so
crazy.
I guess it's more understandable now that I see the budget for what they could pull off, but I'm still going to judge the writing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I totally understand that. It's the story is kind of not necessarily bare bones, but pretty cut and dry. And I think that was where it was kind of the mix up. Is it's like you picked this relatively basic story that you could have just used as an in for a crazy, campy, like gory monster movie, but instead you did devote a fair amount of time to trying to make the story more serious, but not in an effective way that could have like really earned that payoff at the end with the more time establishing that camaraderie. So yeah, a few missed opportunities for sure.
Kind of confusing. I don't know if you got a little confused there at the end, but when Saito goes out like running with the sword, and then like they cut away for like a brief second, and then they cut back to where the monster's like gonna attack him, and then like it's a dead body, and then like he's like buried in the sand. I'm like, that was so quick. How did you bury yourself and then put?
Yeah,
I was like,
that one threw me off a little bit. I was like, that's a cool trap, but I don't think you would have said it that quickly.
Yeah, like if we got like a moment of him, like a montage of him like setting up a trap, some elaborate trap or something, you know, because it's not like they're tricking us, you know, they're tricking the monster. So that kind of confused me just because how fast it was. I was just like, did you have time to get in the sand?
Yeah.
With all the positives and the negatives, what would you give the film out of 10?
Out of 10, I would say, I think on Letterboxd I gave it a 3 out of 5. So I would say probably about a 6 or a 6.5 out of 10. The good makes up for the bad. So it's one that I would be willing to watch again, but not one that I'm like anxious to watch again. It's not an immediate new favorite, not something I'm gonna throw on anytime soon because I got other stuff to catch up on, obviously. But it's a cool idea that I would recommend to others, depending on what they're looking for in a movie. I think the foreign aspect of it, like having the subtitles, is always tricky because then I focus more on that. I can't like multitask. It's not something I can throw on in the background while I'm doing chores or like hanging out with friends and stuff. Any indie horror that's this cheap and pulls off a monster like that still has my respect. So that's 6.5.
So I'm around the same rating. I gave it a 6. The story was there. It wasn't horrible. Like nothing in the movie pissed me off. Like I wasn't like, oh, this is like, the writing wasn't terrible. You know, none of the characters were egregiously bad. It's just things that I wish they added. But with the budget, that's crazy. Their effects, the effects for the monsters was great. So I definitely give it a 6 out of 10. It was a decent movie. Nothing amazing, but you know, it was a fun little watch on a Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good weekend afternoon watch. It's one of those movies, and there's so many of these in the horror genre, but one of those movies where you're watching it and you're like, man, if I could remake this movie with like all the same people involved and just give them 10 times the budget and a little bit more time and just get like somebody to punch up that script a bit, then this movie could have been like an absolute banger. They were hamstrung by a few things, so you take what you get. I
think that's like one of my problems I'm seeing a lot of with my list so far, because I always like to pick like horror movies that, one, I've seen so many movies just in general, so all the movies on my list are, one, I'm trying to pick like not popular ones, and most of the popular ones I've already seen, so obviously I can't watch ones I've already seen, but I'm trying to watch like weird ones. And I mean, you saw the list that I have. And like I found like so many like foreign movies that looked interesting, like Dr. Lamb or whatever. I don't even know. It's like he's like a serial killer dude. I watched one the other day. It's called The Furies. I just did a review on that one. But like stuff like that, it's just like, it's like they're there. Their concept is really good, and then it's just they drop the ball with their writing, and I'm just like,
Yeah, there's it happens a lot with the lower budget like indie stuff when they've got so many people handling so many different tasks. Like you've got there's so many people out there that are like, you're strong writers, they have a good story, they've written something, but because they couldn't afford actors, they also had to play the parts themselves, and they're just not actors. Or you get the directors that have a keen eye for stuff, but they just don't know what human dialogue sounds like for some reason, so when they write it, you're just like, what are you doing here? And you're like, man, this is a really well shot sequence, but this guy is not speaking like a normal person. Like the writing is bad. So a mixed bag with that. And then, but every once in a while you get a diamond in there and makes it all worth it, I guess.
I love watching like indie horror when it turns out to be really great. I'm just like, awesome. I love the fact that you guys did this on such a low budget and it's like really worth a watch. I'll praise it. I'm gonna give it a good rating. Like, I love finding those gems. It's always the funnest. What would you say is like your like top 3 genres of horror? Because I know there's a bunch of different horror types.
Oh yeah. I always default to, I'd say my top 3 that I watch pretty regularly are going to be body horror. So I love like The Thing, The Blob, Clown, stuff like that, and then slashers.
Clown is the Eli Roth one?
Yeah, it's John Watts wrote and directed it. He did a fake trailer and he attached Eli Roth's name to the fake trailer and dropped it on YouTube. And a bunch of people messaged Eli Roth and were like, your new movie looks amazing. And he was like, the fuck you talking about? I don't have a new movie out. And they sent him the YouTube link and he was like, oh, this jerk put my name on a fake trailer. But then he watched the whole thing and was like, this is actually really good. And so Eli Roth hit him up and he's like, I'm not going to sue you. I'm not going to, like, you don't have to pull the video. Do you want to make this movie for real though? And he produced the feature-length Clown and had John Watts write and direct it. Yeah, it was dope. But yeah, body horror and then slashers. I always default to like the Friday or Nightmare or like Chucky franchises are all favorites of mine. And then horror comedy is just something I can rewatch again and again. Like Idle Hands and Cabin in the Woods are a couple of my favorites that never get old.
Have you seen? There's this one really funny. I think it came out like 2023, but it's a horror comedy where the guy is like running, he's like a live streamer and he's like in a haunted house. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Deadstream.
Yeah, Deadstream. That shit was fucking hilarious. I don't know if I was like, wow, I just like randomly put this on Shudder. I'm like, this is really funny actually.
I think I saw a few people talking about it or something. Someone had recommended it to me and we were doing like our horror watch through spooky season, and it was one of the nights where we were like, all right, we can actually pay attention to a movie we've never seen before. Let's go ahead and watch something new tonight. And we threw it on and I was like, I thought that was amazing because it was funny. Like it was really funny throughout, but it also had some strong scares, like some legitimately creepy moments. And I was like, this was an effective movie. And found footage is always hit or miss with me, where it just feels like they did found footage because they thought it would be this like the easier, cheaper route, and then it's just kind of shaky and they're trying to stretch a story that is only good for like 20 minutes. And then that one was I thought that was done very well.
Have you seen I liked it. I gave it like a 7.5. I don't know if I watched it like just on a good time. Maybe if I rewatched it, maybe I wouldn't think it as funny. But it's a movie on Shudder as well, but it's called Sorry About the Demon. Have you heard of it?
No.
This is so. This guy moves into a house. The family just wants to get. They're just like, please, can you move in? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm just looking for a place to rent. And like this demon's trying to scare him the whole time, and he just does not give a fuck. Like he's just so just like, whatever. And just like it was so funny. Like maybe I watched it at the right time, but I'm just like, this is a funny ass movie.
That's rad. I'm gonna have to add that to my list.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
Did you watch that TikTokers found footage film on Shudder?
Was it House on Eden? Is that the one? I have not. I haven't watched it yet because I'm afraid to watch it because I know people really like the people behind it, but everyone I know that has seen it said the movie was not great. Like they just thought it was kind of derivative, and I think one of my friends watched it and was like, I'm just not. She said the dialogue was tough, and like hearing the way certain characters talk just felt so unnatural, like they were talking like influencers the whole time.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's what I heard. They're like, oh yeah, Call Me Chris and her friend are literally just playing themselves or in the movie, and I'm just like, like I used to watch Call Me Chris when she used to do like the little baby hands, but then her stuff just wasn't for me anymore, and I was just like, and then I saw that, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. This seems because like if you're just playing yourself, it's like, do I want to watch? You know, because you're making a movie. You should play like not yourself.
Yeah, and it's also just like in certain elements are like good in small doses. Like if you're an effective YouTuber who can do like some short form content, that's one thing. But yeah, to do 90 minutes of you just being over the top or something, I'm not super familiar with their previous work, so I wouldn't know what to compare it to.
Well, I mean, because she's just mostly just like a short form comedy skit. I don't know about her friend. I've never seen her friend, but she just makes like little like goofy voices, like pretending to be like a little baby with like baby hands, and then she like, I don't know. That was like back in like 2020 when I watched her stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know. The one movie I'm excited about is Shelby Oaks from Chris Stuckman.
Yeah, that one looks very interesting. I'm not worried about that one because I've heard good things about it from people I trust. For the most part, everyone I know that's seen it says it's pretty great. But it's got that, I know Neon picked it up and they've been like really hammering that marketing campaign. And so I know some people are worried it's going to be like Long Legs all over again, which I loved Long Legs, but I know a lot of people thought it was overhyped. Boring,
I like Long
trash.
Legs. I think the only thing I thought was took me out of it was just Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Just because it's just like, I don't know, Nicolas Cage is always a little goofy. I love Nicolas Cage, but just seeing him in that makeup, you're just like, all right, I guess this is what we're watching now.
It's definitely a little off-putting. I don't think people were anticipating that, so that makes sense for sure. But yeah, I've heard really great things about Shelby Oaks. I am excited to check that one out. That one's at the end of this month, and I think it shares the same release date with a couple of other ones. Like Dream Eater comes out that same day, and that's another found footage indie horror that's really good. I saw that one last night, and it's pretty nuts.
Dream Eater?
It's one that's found footage, and it was done for real cheap. And the writers, director, producers, there's like this trio. They call themselves Blind Luck Pictures.
Mallory Drum and Jay Dracu.
Those are the ones, yeah. And so Jay isn't in the movie, but they directed it together, wrote it together, and then Alex and Mallory star in it as this couple. And Alex is this guy who's having violent parasomnia, which is like when you're sleepwalking very intensely. And apparently in real life, like they looked it up, and when you're having violent parasomnia, the doctor's like, you need to record everything that's happening in the house. Like, I need documentation of what's going on so that I can try to diagnose this and we can try to figure out what's happening. And so that's how they kind of justify the found footage angle, is she's like, doctor fucking told me I have to record everything you're doing. And it just gets worse and worse. But yeah, it's pretty nuts. And what they did for low budget, or with such minimal budget, it's pretty admirable. So I think that one, if anyone's got time for a double feature on the 24th, Shelby Oaks and Dream Eater, I think would be a hell of a 1-2 punch. Yeah.
I think some people were a little bit, it was off-putting where they go from like found footage and then into like almost like a real movie. But I mean, like, I don't care. That's not gonna like take me out of the movie, but I can see how that can kind of make some people be like, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like if he does it right, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Yeah,
I don't mind like a unique kind of shift or anything like that. I feel like that could be a fun twist. And yeah, if it's handled correctly and if it's edited effectively, then it could be a cool new takeout for sure.
Why do you feel? I mean, maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. But why do you feel like a lot of like influencers or YouTubers, when they make their first feature movie, why do you think it's always horror? Do you think it's because horror is easier to make? Do you think it's because it's easier to market? Or like, especially like when their genre is normally not that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't know the exact answer, but I feel like horror is like when it's a good genre that does have a lot of support. And as much as the magazines or the tabloids or anyone wants to say that like horror fatigue is a thing, or that there's the studios that want established genres and or established franchises and everything like that, there's always an appetite for indie horror. And I think it's one that can find its audience no matter what kind of like subgenre you go for. And it's one that if done effectively can still work. Like if you try to make a low budget comedy, that's 100% riding on the script, like the writing. You have to have really strong jokes and strong humor. Whereas horror, you can have a mediocre script, but if you know how to shoot a good like jump scare, or if you know how to set a good mood, or you've got the right practical effects, if you're going to do like a gore fest or something like that, then that can win people over. Whereas if there's nothing really more you can do inside of a drama or a comedy better other than have like a good, compelling story. And so I think horror people kind of default to that. It's also just a popular community online among influencers. Like all the makeup influencers I know are also horror people. I've tattoo influencer friends, and I've got like other stand-up comedians that I know, and they still find their way into the horror community, like the Venn diagram of people who are on Horror Talk or sharing horror content on Instagram with everything else is there's a lot of overlap.
When the Raka, you know those guys,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like when they were like, oh yeah, we're coming out with our movie, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like some balls to the wall crazy action comedy fest of just like weird shit, and they're like, no, it's horror. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, it's bleak horror.
Yeah, I was just like,
like
that's
brutal.
not what I was expecting. I was expecting you guys to like blow up shit and just like punch each other and make goofy Australian jokes. But
yeah,
nope.
Yeah, it is a weird thing, and it's also the same with like the comedians that are doing horror, like with Zach Kreger doing Weapons and Barbarian, and then Jordan Peele with what he was doing before, and then now I'm not super familiar with what Chris Stuckman's done on YouTube, but I know Shelby Oaks. Everyone's excited to see that. I am happy to see more of them getting respect, because I know a lot of filmmakers have this weird pleased with influencers, or there's a weird animosity between them, where you see some independent filmmakers that are like, this TikToker is getting more views and more likes and more respect than me, and I pour my blood, sweat, and tears into making actual art. And it's like, we're all on the same team. Like, I want people to see your movie, I want to tell people about it. You want to make a good movie, and you don't want to have to worry about Instagram. Like,
I mean, everyone's on their different path.
Exactly.
And I can understand to an extent of, you know, like certain people, like found footage one from Call Me Chris or whatever, Eden, whatever.
House on Eden, yeah.
Maybe that got made a little bit faster than other people's things because she has such a big influence. You know, I think she has like a couple million.
Oh, yeah.
So I can understand getting upset if you're just a normal filmmaker who's also trying to make something like that, and you're just not getting it off the ground as fast as she is. I can understand that to an extent. But I'm happy for like Chris Stuckman and like Freddie W. I don't know if you know who he is. He also made a feature film recently, We're All Gonna Die. That's the film that he just came out with.
Oh, nice. I think I heard about that one, yeah.
Yeah, but he was really popular back in like 2010, 2009 on YouTube. Like, he was like one of the OGs who were doing like fun action skits or like Call of Duty, you know, short films, and with Corridor Digital and stuff. Like, he was kind of like the couple of people on YouTube at the time who were making like really fun and crazy like videos and stuff. And he did like a web series called Video Game High School, which was pretty cool. And then I guess he kind of just like went into a limbo of like making a TV show, then made another TV show. They all got canceled, and he's just like, I don't know what to do. Like, why is nothing hitting? And then he's like, you know, I keep on seeing all these people, because he just made a video, and he's like, I keep on seeing all these people make feature films. Why are we having such a problem making a feature film? Why are people not giving us the budget? Like, he made a whole pitch deck and everything about The Witcher, and he was like, let's make a Witcher TV show. They pitched it, and then they're like, and then a little bit later, they're just like, oh, hey, we're making a Witcher TV show.
Yeah.
Thanks, Freddie. And he's just like, what? Like, but that was my idea. Like, the same people he went to go pitch it to who said no, made the Witcher show. And he's just like, and like his agents were like, you need to give Freddie credit for that. Like, you guys took all of it. Like, it's not his idea, obviously. He didn't make The Witcher, but they're like, you know, you're using like his relative ideas. And then apparently that like screwed him. Like in Hollywood, some people just didn't want to, because his agent like yelled at so many people. So he's like they got rid of the agent. But they're just like, why don't we just make a film ourselves? Why don't we fund it ourselves? You know, let's just do it ourselves. So that's where We're All Gonna Die comes from. And the funny thing is, he actually put it on torrent sites. He's like, I don't care how people watch my film. I know people are gonna probably torrent it. So you
there it is.
If you
just
torrent
watch
it, you get a funny message in the beginning of my film, but I want people to watch it. And he's like, if you still want to support me, you can go to the link that I give you guys, and you can literally pay $1 for my film. I don't care. Just, you know, support me in any way you guys want. So that's super exciting. And he's also making a new film where he plays like the older brother of this one guy, and they're trying to save, I think, their parents' dumpling shop or something. And it's like an action comedy, like in line of like Jackie Chan movies, and it seems super fun. So I'm excited for that, to see what he can do. But yeah, I don't know. I love that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love it too, and it is funny how influencers do have that kind of pull because of the following, and that's across multiple industries now. Like my partner's a makeup artist, and they'll have makeup jobs or artists who they'll put on their resume like how many followers they have on Instagram. There are people who have more Instagram followers getting legitimate gigs who didn't actually get like a makeup license or go to get proper training. They just have a lot of followers, and so that's how people trust them. And I do stand-up comedy, and I don't do it as often anymore, but when I was going up on stage regularly, people were booking showcases and they were looking at your Instagram followers or your YouTube followers, and they're like, if you don't have a huge social following, you're not going to bring people, so it's no point in booking you. And so you'd see comedians who are maybe a little hackier or just not as good, but they knew how to spin their Instagram page or their work up a YouTube following, and so they would get booked at these clubs and get these other shots, and crazy. But that's why it's nice to see boutique like studios or these smaller indie labels actually paying attention to the weirder shit and leveling it up. Like the Dream Eater one I was talking about, that was 3 friends who filmed it in they're in Canada. They filmed it in, I think, Mallory's mom's house. Like they have a cottage in Canada. And so they just stayed at the cottage for 2 weeks and filmed the entire movie in like 10 days. And they did it for like the price of a Volkswagen. And that's it. And then they edited it themselves, and they made it this fucking creepy ass found footage movie, and then just tried to get it into somebody's hands. And enough people watched it that eventually word of mouth got to Eli Roth's the horror section, and he DM'd them on Instagram and was like, can I watch your movie? And they were like, yeah, of course. And they sent it to him, and they were like, so he's probably didn't mean to message us, or he's probably just going to be like, cool, good movie. And apparently they sent it to him, and then like less than 2 hours later, he'd watched the whole thing, and he was like, can I distribute your movie? I want your movie. And they were like, oh shit, okay. And now
that's awesome.
It's going to be in a bunch of theaters, and people are talking about it. Yeah, so
that's crazy. I mean, that's what I love about, it's like a love-hate, right? It's like, I love about social media, that stuff can happen, but like you were saying, like, if you don't have a certain amount of following, why would we book you, and like stuff like that. Like that stuff is worrying, because like I have a bunch of actor friends, and they were talking about, like people like who are casting, they look at your follower count. Like if you don't have enough followers, they're not going to cast you. And it's like, but I'm a good actor. It's like, yeah, but you have 500 followers. So what are you going to do for our film? And it's like, so it's, it sucks, but it's like, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So it's like, if you're going to be in the entertainment field, you have to grind with social media. Unfortunately, you can't be like, I don't like social media. It's like, well, then you're not going to have a job.
Yeah, there's only like a handful of actors now that are like A-list, box office, like royalty, that still don't have an Instagram account, and their agent, their manager, the studio is still harping on them about it. Like, you guys got to start an Instagram, and they're holding steady. But everyone else, I had an actor buddy who was getting ready to be in a horror flick and got down to like final auditions, and then they let him know that they had to go in another direction. And when he saw the movie, it was an influencer, like some YouTuber who had taken the role, and it was their first appearance in a movie ever. And he had been in other stuff. Like, he was a talented actor. He just wasn't super active online. And so when this YouTuber came in and was like, I'll play the role, they were like, oh, you've got 1 million followers on YouTube. Yes, we'll absolutely put you in this movie, because then you'll tell everybody that you're in this movie and it'll do bigger numbers. So it's business. I mean, I get that it's a whole subsection, like a whole new marketing ploy that they have at their disposal. So I get it as far as a business standpoint goes, but it suck for the creatives who want to create and not worry about having to sell themselves. So
obviously I know you love horror, but what other genres of film are you like a really big fan of?
I mean, I watch a lot of comedy too. I love a fun, like, dark comedy, obviously, because it's still like with a horror element sometimes, or even just like a pitch black, like R-rated comedy, like Death to Smoochie or something like that. And then every once in a while, I'll dive into a fun action shoot 'em up. Like I love the John Wick movies. I watched this whole Jason Statham, David Ayer thing that's happening with Working Man and Beekeeper and stuff like I'm eating those up like nobody's business.
I went to the theater to see Beekeeper. That was a fun movie.
I'm so jealous. I missed it in theaters, and then it finally popped up on like Prime or something. I was like, I think I'm gonna watch this Beekeeper movie that everyone keeps talking about, and I put it on. I was like, man, this is a blast. That's the kind of like I don't want to call them dumb movies because they're still like they're just doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is like, yeah, we're not trying to win Oscars for like sound editing or screenplay or direction or anything like that. We just want to make a movie that's entertaining as fuck for 90 minutes. Yeah. And it's Jason Statham. I can't remember who posted it, but someone tweeted it a few years ago, and they were like, you don't even need to name Jason Statham movies anymore. Just say it's Jason Statham 11, Jason Statham 12. Like, because it's just Jason Stathaming for an hour and a half. Like, I don't care what his character's name is. I don't care what his backstory is. He's just in there fucking things up in the best way. Yeah, he's like, now he's a beekeeper. Oh, now he's a working man. And it's like, I don't care.
I still need to watch that, Working Man.
It's not as good as Beekeeper, but it is pretty fun still. Wow. It's the same kind of basic premise where a guy who has a dark past where he knows how to kill people very easily ends up wrapped up in a criminal ring because his boss's daughter, I think, gets kidnapped. He has to something. Yeah, he's got a special set of skills, and he's going to use them to murder a bunch of human traffickers.
Beat up a bunch of people, yeah. So have you? Speaking of like following count and all that fun stuff, have you seen a difference from when you were at like 20K on Instagram or TikTok to like where you are now? Like with how people like hit you up or whatever, or like what you like, you know, like getting invited to stuff or whatever?
The invites have obviously increased. That I think that comes along with Instagram more. I started focusing on Instagram earlier this year because that's having done social media and seeing how the algorithms and like the view counts work and how studios market and promote. Having like 10,000 followers on Instagram is about as valuable as having 100,000 on TikTok. Like, I don't think studios and theme parks and other places are looking at TikTok as much anymore. They're still focused on Instagram because Meta's got that like chokehold. But as soon as I put my email address in my bio, I started getting way more invites. But I also get like 100 product opportunities every day, and they're all trash. Like, it's all just drop ship sports bras or something. And I'm like, you didn't even look at my content. You were just like, oh, a lot of followers, here's his email address, let's see if he wants to sell this motor oil. And I'm like, I don't do
I've gotten like not a lot, but I've gotten like a couple of emails since I put my email address in on my TikTok, and they're like, hey, do you want to make a video with our microphone? I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
I'm good. Yeah, I've had so many. I had somebody reaching out to me about a fragrance set. They're like, you want to promote this perfume? And I'm like, no, why would I want to? Like, what is this about my content? But I've had it happen like 5 or 6 times at least where I'll get their template and they forgot to edit it before they sent it to me. So it just says like, hi, creator, we really love your content about, and then in parentheses it says, mention the last thing they posted about or something.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and then they're like, we think you're a good fit for this campaign. So I do still get a lot of those. The one thing I've noticed, my TikTok following has kind of plateaued a little over 200K now, and I'm getting significantly lower views on most stuff than I did when I started. And I think it's because I joined TikTok at like the perfect time to build up a TikTok account in 2020. And I shot up and I found my niche and I started doing my certain videos and my series. And then I kind of had a hard time keeping up with certain regular postings and series and stuff. And then now I get certain opportunities, which are great. But the TikTok algorithm, there's been a flood of new TikTok users on there. So back when it had me as one of 1,000 people to show somebody in their FYP. Now I am one of like 100,000 people that it can choose to show somebody in their FYP. So I have to work harder to make sure that whatever I'm doing in the first second of my video, half second of my video, is engaging, and I have to make sure that the lighting is perfect and that the camera's perfect. But you can't overdo it because then it looks too polished and it looks like an ad. You have to find the right way in, and it's always changing. Whereas a few years ago, it was like, I'm just going to talk about a horror movie, and there wasn't a million people on TikTok talking about horror movies at the same time. So it was easier to find your audience and get those views. And I think people are a little bit more discerning now, and it's just harder to find your way to break through.
I mean, obviously I have a lot less followers than you, but I do feel like weirdly, I like see, because I thought like, you know, with my videos, like I think they look good. I'm like, you know, they look polished. I have a green screen, you know, like I film on a nice camera, not this camera, but my nice camera. And, you know, I try to put work in, you know, I edit in Premiere, you know, like I'm trying to make, you know, I do whatever things. And it's like, my videos do worse than the people who are just like, hey guys, so I watched the movie today. I was like, what? Yeah. Literally this is no effort. And they're just editing on the app. And I'm just like, I don't want to do low effort videos. It just makes my channel look low effort. That's
kind of how I feel about it. I'm having a hard time getting more into that vibe, but I have noticed that some of my low effort videos have been just performing better. Like as long as you say something engaging in the beginning, or you seem authentic. But it's always tricky because I'm in the like TikTok Discord, and they'll share tips, and they're like, oh, make sure you're using green screen for this and doing this for this. And I'm like, I tried that, doesn't help. And then there's other tips that are like, oh, make sure you're not using hashtags anymore. It's all about SEO. You got to use this and this.
You can only use 5 hashtags now anyways.
Yeah.
So
and
you can't like
it's always
hashtags.
weird.
And they've always said hashtags don't work for some reason, even though they should work. Like you said, like low effort. Like for example, I did a DCU mural from Superman, like me talking about who all the characters were. It was like right when James Gunn put out like a high quality picture of all the characters that were in the mural from the movie, and I jumped on that like right when it got posted. I was like, I happened to be home, I wasn't at work. I'm like, okay, who are all these people? I'm like, okay, I know who all these are, and I threw it together. I'm not even in the video. It's literally just me talking over it. And I got 145,000 views on that.
There you go.
But like me doing like my Fantastic Four review, 4,000.
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
It's the weirdest shit, and then it's always unexpected. I'm trying to think what I did recently, because I had one that was like one of the dumbest ideas I'd ever thought of. And like I did that one where I put on my girlfriend's like wristbands to eat a burrito, and that one hit like 2 million or something, because it was like a 10-second video, but I was like, is this the stupidest joke I've ever written? And then I posted it, and it just blew up. But yeah, my reviews lately have been around 2 or 3K, like nothing really fancy, nothing crazy to write home about. I decided to mix it up a bit, and I did a review for something, American Sweatshop. And I was like, okay, I don't really have time to go through and edit in clips from the trailer. Like I'll usually do that where I'm talking on screen, and then it'll cut to a part of the trailer while I'm talking over voiceover. And I was like, let me just throw the entire trailer above me while I'm talking, because I can knock that out a lot faster. And that hit 15K. So that's one of my best performing reviews in recent days. And I'm like, okay, I guess maybe that's the new way of doing it. Yeah, I did the trailer reaction for that new kids horror movie. That one hit 17K. And I think it's just because I said there's a new horror movie for kids coming out. Let's check it out. And as soon as you say that, people are going to be like, wait, what? And they have to watch for a few more seconds.
And I hate like where like another video that popped up is like where I'm talking about like something controversial or whatever, or like I'm ranting about something, and I'm just like, I don't want to have to only make rant videos. Like that's like I like to be positive. I like to talk about stuff I like. And if I'm just like, oh, this is whatever, or I don't know, whatever. I don't want to just do those, even if it gets me a lot of views.
I do it every once in a while just because I get people that don't believe me when I say something's good, because they're like, well, you just like everything. And I'm like, I don't. I just don't like to talk about the stuff I don't like, because it's not fun for me. And I also just don't want to like steer people away from a horror movie that I think they might enjoy just because I didn't like it. But every once in a while, like I got tired of people saying, you just like every movie. And I was like, all right, here's 5 horror movies that I fucking hated. I do not understand the hype, and I'm sorry if you like them. These are bad movies. And like I listed some of them off, and then of course that one does like great numbers because they're like, I want to hear these hot takes. I actually didn't mind Skinamarink. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
I was just so bored about that movie. I literally watched it at 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm shutting the lights off, late. Let me just stare into the void of whatever this is, and I'm just like, what am I watching?
Yeah, there's not a lot happening in that one. We saw it in theaters, and I'm glad we saw it in theaters because obviously you want to support indie horror whenever you can, but also if I wasn't in a theater, I would have absolutely looked at my phone and gotten distracted by something else and stopped paying attention to it. And that's a movie that you really do have to like give yourself to try to sink into that like dread. And it still didn't fully work for me. Kimmy really didn't like it. She was like, I don't understand what the fuck's going on. I'm bored out of my skull. And I'm like, I get it. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a weird flick, but yeah, that one I definitely could have been a bit shorter for sure.
Yeah, like 20 minutes. Could have been 20 minutes long.
Probably, yeah, probably.
Very. It could have been a YouTube short. Throw it up there.
There we go. Yeah. This could have been a TikTok.
This could have been a TikTok. Very true. Thank you, Josh, for coming on and talking with me about all horror and the movie Monster Island.
Monster Island. Hell yeah.
Monster Island. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more, hit that follow button. And as always, thanks for watching.